Okay. So this is going to be the start of 2.6, where really I'm just going to cover vocab and we're going to practice with that. So a transversal is a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at different points. So in this diagram, the transversal is that red line. You can see it intersects the two black lines. So we would call that a transversal. So in this picture, any one of these lines could be a transversal. So we can talk about M being the transversal that intersects line P and line N. We can say that P is a transversal that intersects line M and line N. Or we could say line N is a transversal that's intersecting line M and line P. So from here, we have different angles that we're going to talk about from a transversal. And this is where the vocab comes in. And you're going to want to pay close attention and think about sort of defining them in a picture in your brain. Think about how it works because you want to be able to look at these and identify them well. So in this case, we're going to talk about R as the transversal. And I highlighted in that with that red so we can see this. So interior angles happen inside the other two lines. So if R is our transversal, it's intersecting S and T, and the interior angles are the angles that are between S and T. And the exterior angles are outside those lines. Okay, so we have the same picture. Remember, R is the transversal. So angles 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles. They're interior because they're between S and T, which is the lines that the transversal intersects. So it's between those. It's in the inside of them. It is the alternate part comes because it's on opposite sides of the transversal. So in this picture, 3 is on the left of the transversal and 6 is on the right of the transversal. 2 and 7 are alternate exterior angles. Again, the alternate part comes because they're on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're exterior because it's outside the other two lines. Corresponding angles are kind of in the same position. So angles 2 and 6 are corresponding. They are both on the right of the transversal, and they're both above the other two lines. So angle 2 is above S, angle 6 is above T. Consecutive interior angles are also sometimes called same side interior angles. Either one is fine for you to use. You should be able to recognize both names. So those are on the same side of the transversal. So angles 4 and angle 6 are both on the right of the transversal here, and they're inside the two lines. Okay, so we can call them consecutive interior angles or same side interior angles. Okay. So I would like you to take a look at this picture and name what kind of angles these are. And what is the red line called? What are those red angles called? How about these ones? And these ones? And those ones? How about these? Okay, so here is a complicated picture. It's that same N, line M, N, and P that I showed you before when we talked about it. And remember, any one of them could be considered a transversal. So if we say M is the transversal, then I want you to name a pair of alternate interior angles. Actually, can you name 2 pairs of alternate interior angles? And then can you name an angle that is corresponding to angle 1? Okay, so let's take a look at this. Remember, M is the transversal, so I'm just going to highlight that there, which means that line P and line N are the other ones that I'm looking at. So if I'm looking for alternate interior angles, then I can see that I've got 3 and 9, because those are inside these blue lines. and on opposite sides of the red one, right? The red is the transversal, and these are the other two lines. So one of the things that is um, common, or a way to kind of recognize the alternate interiors, is they kind of make like a Z shape. This is not going to be perfect, but you get the idea. They make the Z shape or a backward Z. So the other set here is 4 and 10, and you can see kind of the backward Z that happens like this. And that makes like a backward Z. In this picture, the Z is a little bit funky shaped, but it still makes a Z. Okay. And then corresponding angles would be corresponding to angle 1. So here's angle 1. And then, so angle 1 is on top of this blue line and on the right of the red line. So 10 is also on top of the blue line and to the right of the red line. Okay. Now we're going to use N as the transversal, and I want you to find a consecutive interior angle, a set of consecutive interiors, or remember we can call those same side interiors, and an angle that is corresponding to angle 11. So again, I'm going to highlight N as the transversal, and I'm highlighting the other two, making them blue so we can see them. The relationship's a little bit easier. Our consecutive interiors are going to be 6 and 9 because they are both on the same side of the red line and interior to the blue lines. You also could have chosen 8 and 11 because they're inside of the blue lines and they're, in this case, below the red line. And then the corresponding angle to 11 is going to be 7. 11 is to the left of this blue line and below the red, and 7 is to the left of the blue line and below the red. Okay, so I'm going to go through a series of angles, and you're going to name the relationship. Well, choose the relationship that they should be. So we've got 2 and 7, 7 and 11, angles 2 and 12. So one of the things that's surprising sometimes to people is that angles 2 and 12 do not have a special name. There is not a relationship there because they don't, there's not a transversal that makes them, right? So if I go back and we look at 7 and 11, let's see, 7 and 11 are made from the transversal I going through K and M. But when I look at 2 and 12, 2 is made from the intersection of J and K. 12 is made from the intersection of I and M. They don't share a line at all, so there is no relationship there. Okay, 7 and 15. 6 and 16. Again, this one has no relationship because they're not sharing a line. 3 and 6. 2 and 13. And 9 and 14. Oops, and 10 and 11. Okay, so the big thing here is that it's important to know these angle relationships and their names, and we are going to learn about what happens with them if we make those lines that the transversal is passing through, if we make those lines parallel. And we'll talk more about that next time.